Ghost of Tsushima is a game that appeared promising to Sony fans when it was originally revealed, but no one expected it to be as amazing and as massive of a success as it is until it was finally released. It took everyone by storm by offering addicting gameplay, breathtaking visuals, and heart-touching story about honor, revenge, and the way of the sword. Not only that, but the game has such a striking accuracy of the feudal Japan culture that the country has personally praised the developers of the game and considered it one of the greatest pieces of entertainment based on their country from the Western world. This is certainly not an easy task to achieve, so it's no wonder that the legacy of the game did not die with the previous generation of consoles. Sony revealed that the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, and while it offered few improvements on the PlayStation 4 as well, the main point of this release was to make a true PlayStation 5 version of the game with better loading times and implementation of the DualShock haptic feedback capabilities. And of course, the true silver lining was the inclusion of the new DLC expansion that adds an entire new gorgeous island called Iki Island, which includes new types of enemies, gameplay retouches, and a few story missions that are not integral to the game but still fits in quite nicely. So let's talk about these new additions to the game and how much they matter in terms of their warranting a purchase on either on the two of the PlayStation consoles. Let's talk about the new features in the game that were added as a free update irrespective of the Director's Cut first. To start off, we have the improvements that apply to both of the PlayStation 4 and 5. Those are the ability to hide your bow in a quiver, and the game finally allows you to remap your controls. That sounds like a small list, but unfortunately that's all that is shared between the two platforms, and the rest of the upgrades are focused on the PlayStation 5 and the haptic feedback. If you want the rest of the features, you need to purchase the Director's Cut. For the PlayStation 4, that is $20 to make your game Director's Cut. And if you want to upgrade the game to the PlayStation 5 version, you have to spend a total of $30 instead. You can of course buy the Director's Cut for $70 on the PlayStation 5 directly as well, which is what I did, since I wanted to support the developers and the game. Now, we discussed the upgrades that are exclusive to the PlayStation 5, and boy, it is a pretty long list. The haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers are the major focus of this update, as the game tries its best to give you a unique feeling on your hands based on how you're playing the game. It includes things like when you're attacking enemies or what terrain that you're on. The adaptive triggers makes the task in games such as using the bow and arrow and grappling hook feel more realistic, as the triggers act accordingly to what's going on and require more precision in what you do. The most obvious change everyone expects is also here, which are incredibly quick loading times. Whether you die, start the game, or fast travel, the game loads in mere seconds, thanks to the hardware of the advancements that this generation of gaming has to offer. A less obvious addition that you might not have expected was the Japanese lip sync. Now, most people play the game in English audio, and since it was well voice acted and has a good lip sync, no one felt that it's a problem that the game needs more. But for those who want a little bit more of the authenticity to their experience, there was the Japanese audio. However, the lip sync for the Japanese audio felt unnatural because you could tell that the characters were speaking in English visually. So the Director's Cut on the PlayStation 5 adds Japanese lip sync to the game that renders the cutscene in real time instead of the pre-recorded videos. This allows the characters' lips to speak in real Japanese and making the experience feel better. Unfortunately though, if you take a closer look, the lip sync still is a bit weird because it's just not a part of the original motion capture. While the lines look better as they're not in English, it's very clear that the lips are moving a bit odd or too much when compared to how loud certain dialogues was spoken. So essentially it does not improve much and is kind of a useless feature. The Director's Cut adds a 4K resolution and 60 FPS. Even though it's advertised as a feature, it's not something exclusive to this, and the game supports these things on the PlayStation 5 free of charge too, as part of the free upgrades received on backwards compatibility game. The PlayStation 4 controller has the ability to play sound as well from its speakers, but Sucker Punch put additional work in making the DualShock do a better job at syncing up with the game. Things like gushes of wind, hallucinations, or certain boss fights have music come out of the controller, and it adds an extra sense of immersion for those who care about this sort of stuff. 3D audio in general also included in the game, to those who have a 3D enabled headset and a great speakers can benefit from it. But Ghost of Tsushima does not make a particularly good use of it at all. With all these things talked about, the obvious question is if these changes truly make the game worthwhile to be purchased on either of the PlayStation 5 or the Director's Cut on the PlayStation 4. The truth is, this cannot be measured as a simple answer. These changes do improve the game overall experience, as some of them were minor upgrades everyone wished that the game should have had. But if you have already beaten the game, you might not enjoy it any more than the usual with these changes, as they were very minor. With this being said, if this is the first time you're going to play the game, then it's completely worth it to start off with these changes, as they do improve the game, as I previously mentioned. With all of these out of the way, it's time to discuss the main meat of the meal, the Iki Island, the expansion that tied to the Director's Cut of Ghost of Tsushima. Although you can access the DLC as soon as you reach Act 2 of the game, it's very obvious that the island is quite disconnected from the rest of the game. That's because the combat is a bit different to the main game. Some of your items and upgrades don't carry onwards to the island, and you'll have to re-unlock certain things. Additionally, some of your gear and things that do carry on, it's not like you have to start all over again from scratch entirely. But these changes do make it seem like DLC is not a part of the main game, and thus be better played later. But this shouldn't be confused with having too many things to the gameplay, as there aren't any particular new weapons or anything that changed the combat significantly. There are new enemy types in the game that can cause other enemies to be more powerful with specific shaman chants until you can take him down. It's something several other games have done before, but it does mix things up. The battles of Iki Island are mostly in large scale than the main game, since it has its quieter moments. If you have not played the game for a while, then you might have actually a difficult time at first keeping up with the difficulty. And if you haven't played the game enough and try to access the DLC as soon as Act 2 begins, the same might happen to you. But for those who are willing to pull through, will have a great time. The story of Iki Island is crucial to Jin's character, as it throws the players on the quest to confront his past traumas and come out stronger than ever, which includes an interesting hallucinated sequences too, that is often seen in video games when it comes to confronting the past. Without any spoilers, let's just say that the story isn't just existent to have more DLC, and instead it feels important to the overall experience. And most people believe that it's better played after the main game, and I agree with that too. General features of the Director's Cut of the game are a great addition for people who are playing the game for the first time. However, they will not feel more than random improvements to those who are going for the second round and eventually can be avoided. The Iki Island expansion is the essential aspect to the entire ordeal and is certainly worth playing. Like most DLCs, the main story is just 2 to 3 hours, and the rest of the game is achieved by doing some side quests and challenges, as well as the completionist stuff. So if you already played the game, is the DLC worth $30? The answer might be no for you, as unfortunate as it may be due to the price tag alone, despite the fact that the expansion is good otherwise. However, if this is your first time, then paying for the full price for everything in one package is not a bad idea. Not only that, but you can play it for $20 too, if you don't want the PlayStation 5 features. Of course, story isn't everything, and I would still recommend buying the expansion for full price tied to the game of the island, offered too much in general, but whether its structure, the visuals, or the overall feel of the island is just not that different from the main game and might underwhelm you. It's especially a bummer when you look at the game's Legends mode, adding so many unique gameplay changes, visual changes, and fun game modes that are clear improvements in many ways, or at least a welcome variation. and it's getting even more content in time as it gets to a standalone release soon, including more stuff to do in co-op. It's great modes and it's already free with the game, so it's one of the reasons why spending $30 on a PS5 version of Iki Island feels overdone. Yet again, personally, I think it's worth it since I had a wonderful time with this DLC. But I don't want this to cloud my judgment since I want to be open-minded and share my honest review for this director's cut and the DLC. Please consider supporting me on my Patreon with availability to see these sorts of special videos earlier with the additional rewards. Lastly, check out the rest of my special videos playlist. I have put in time and effort into individual videos, and I'm immensely proud of how they will have turned out to be. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.